All right, it's good to see everybody this evening. Good to have y'all. Good to have y'all. We'll open with prayer real quick. Father, I thank you for the opportunity for us to get together and just talk about what you've provided us, God, for the blessings that you've shared with us, God. And we just ask that you would help each of us to, Father, receive what it is that you want us to receive tonight, God, and that you would just open up our hearts and our minds to everything that you've got in store for us, Father, that you can pour out your blessings, Father, that we can grasp it, Father. We lift these things up to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All righty. I have not done a lot of teaching in a long time, so y'all be gentle with me. Okay. I do have the double-sided sheet that I handed out. Mine's single, just so I can keep track. But the double-sided is just kind of an outline of what I want to kind of cover. It's not extensive by any means, but and this is not, I don't plan on covering all this tonight, so don't look at it and go, oh, we're going to be here till freaking midnight. No. But we're going to take it as we can. We're kind of flexible on how many nights this is going to be. It might be 2, it might be 3, but certainly not planning on covering all this tonight. Part of it just depends on how interactive everybody is, how long some of this stuff takes. So we're going to be talking about finances. I enjoy talking about finances. That's just kind of the way I'm built. Few just kind of key factors as far as talking about finances in the Bible. John Wesley was a couple centuries ago now, I guess, theologian, and he his known statements is earn all you can, save all you can, give away all you can. Basically, bless people and do it through hard work. Proverbs 22:9, the generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. Dave Ramsey is a big kind of finance guru in the Christian world right now, and has been for 30 years. You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. So basically, if you don't control your money, it's going to control you. God provides everything. We just manage it for him. So those are just some, and you can see the verses there if you just are running down the page with me. There's roughly 2,350 verses concerning money and finances in the Bible. It's one of the biggest pieces that is a part of Scripture. I think the number is roughly like 16 out of the 38 parables that Jesus told are directly related to finances. That does not mean it is more important than anything else, especially whenever it talks about faith and prayer, but it is the most obvious expression of our faith, and can be, one of the biggest controlling factors if we let it. The way that I'm laying this out, I'm going to talk first about tithe, but not because I intend to hammer it, but because the way the tithe is laid out in the Bible, it's the first thing. So that's what we look at it as whenever we're looking at it tonight. Tithe, the word literally means a tenth. That is the purpose, is it's meant to be a tenth of basically what you have. God gave us everything. We might work for it, but we can work all we want to, and that doesn't mean we're going to produce anything. God provides the harvest, even in our finances. And so all he asks for is 1/10, a dime for every dollar. And there's a number of verses. I didn't go through all the verses on the tithe. I did pull out Malachi 3:10 there. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this. And this is the reason I added this specific verse. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. He's clearly telling us, give a little to me and I'll give a lot back to you. Couple little notes a little bit further down that I get to. There's a lot of, and Becca and I were talking about this beforehand, there's a lot of references to tithe in the Bible, and it kind of progresses throughout the ages. The original commandment, if you will, was give a tenth of what you have. Now, at that time, they were only coming into the synagogue or the temple and such, once a year or once every so many years, and so they would bring a tenth of everything that they had at that point. We've kind of progressed to where we do it on a more regular basis, and so we do it based on income. So, but it is off of the first fruits. It's always been off the first fruits. So tithe is meant to be off of your full salary, not after taxes, after expenditures, it's not a leftover thing, it's the first thing. So one of the notes that this is where my testimony comes in. The note there for testimony is my testimony. One of the things that I started off early on with, before I ever even had a full-time job, was tithing on what I wanted to make, not just tithing off of what I was making. So tithing in faith is a big part of the tithe. Tithing, telling God, look, I trust you to provide what I know you need to give me. So in my life, a tithe has been a big part of what has gotten me to where I am. Now, I know most of this side of the road knows a good portion of where I am right now. I know you guys have been to the house. Y'all kind of know our spread and whatnot. I started off very small. And, as a kid, I grew up in a very poor family. We lived in a house that was $25,000. Very poor. My parents did not manage money really well. They still have issues with debt. So I don't come from money. I don't come from necessarily even the best influences. But the key factor to my growth throughout the years has always been my faithfulness in tithing. Every time I turn around, God's providing stuff I didn't even ask for, as far as my business and things of that sort. I never intended to be a full-time employer, but that's the way God has blessed me, because I've just been faithful in everything else in the tithe. Now, I could give you my full testimony on that. I think that kind of suffices for now. So, all right, any questions or discussion on the tithe itself? Okay. All right, so this is going to be the time piece for this evening, is discussion on the budget. So the two-piece handout that I gave you, these two here, are just a quick start budget setup. And I realize a lot of us have kind of an idea of where our finances sit, but actually having a budget makes a big difference in how our money is spent. So we're going to take a few minutes. You can read the directions, or you can basically just listen to me. More or less, we're going to start with our income. And we're not looking for exact numbers on here. You don't have to pull out your phone and go through the last 6 months and average it. Just the idea for tonight is just kind of put some general numbers. Most of us, I hope you know how much you make, roughly. So we could put that down there and then kind of work down through the I did take some time and do some of this myself this evening, just to kind of get stuff started. So I apologize, my phone is reading in my ear. Anyway, so if you want to take a few minutes, start off with your income and plug in the pieces of your budget that you already know. Most of you know how much you're paying on mortgage or rent, you know, roughly what your water bill is, your electric bill is, that kind of thing. So if y'all want to take a few minutes and kind of fill that out. I'll do that right now. And the more detailed you are, obviously the better the result of it. And this is not an all-inclusive, this is just a general quick start. All right, so snowballing debt. All right, so the general idea here so if we say that's not gonna work. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so credit card debt, we've got like $1,200. All right, and we'll say student loans, we've got $3,500. Car, we're looking at $8,000, and then we'll just say medical, $300. So if we look at this and we think, okay, well, we've got what, like 125 minimum payment. Student loans, we'll do that 125 as well. Now your car, you're probably paying $400 a month, and the medical debt, we'll say your payment is supposed to be $50 a month. So if we take just an extra like 80 bucks, toss it at this medical debt. So actually, yeah, this is gonna alter what I said earlier, but this is gonna fix it. All right, so if we take that $50 and we add 80 to it every month, so we're paying the 50 plus 80, and there's, again, just, you know, numbers at this point, but it's just an illustration. So if we take that 50 plus that 80, so we're at 130, we're gonna pay off that 300 bucks in just over 2 months. Okay, so yeah, about 2.5. So we'll round it up to 3 months. All right, so in 3 months, this is knocked out completely. So we got this 50 bucks and this extra 80. So we got 130 bucks that we can crank into our next biggest. So our credit card here. So we're not only paying the 125, we're adding 130 to it. So at that 130, we're gonna pay that off twice as fast. So at that point, we're gonna have, let's see here, where's my math? So 255 into about 5 months, thank you. My phone's on the stand, so. Okay, so 5 months. My handwriting's atrocious, I'm sorry, you get the idea. You're mostly looking at the numbers anyway. All right, so if we pay that off, then we're cranking 155, no, 255 into the next number, which would be the student loans. So you see how it compounds, and it's kind of like compounding interest, only it works in your favor instead of against you. Huh?
More money to those.
Well, the idea is you keep on rolling it into your debt until you get everything paid off.
And once everything's paid off, then it can be more money for them.
Exactly. I mean, well, let's be honest. Like, the goal is to eliminate all of this so you can spend all of your money in loans, right? Oh, my bad. We gotta put the Amazon on there. All right. And it always helps whenever you don't add more on to the credit card debt. Kind of goes without saying, but sometimes you just got to say it. So that's the snowballing debt. So flipping back over here and kind of looking at our budgets, part of the numbers there, if you look at the debt and the credit cards there, that is not meant to be your recurring credit card debt. That is your outstanding credit card debt. So that's what you're trying to pay off that has been on there continually. Now, one of the things with any debt is the amount of interest involved. I'm just giving this does not subvert the snowball method, but it's something to keep in mind. Your credit card debt is probably dealing you at 20 to 30% every single month. Those student loans, I don't know, give me a number. I'm not familiar with student loans. I've never had any.
You want mine?
Just a percentage. Just give me a percentage.
I don't know. I can look it up. Back when I took them out 70 years ago, it was about 4%.
4%.
Mine says 5 to 8.
Okay, we'll deal with that. So 5 to 8%. It's not too bad.
No.
All right, but a lot of folks, this is the first thing they look at. This is secondary. You do need to look at it. You need to be aware. Your car note, you're probably looking at 9, depending on your credit rating, which the better you get at some of this stuff, the better your credit rating is going to be. All right, so it could be anywhere from 9 to 20%. Medical debt shouldn't have any as long as you have been paying on it at some point. So some folks are like, oh, well, I'm not going to put any money towards this because, I don't really have to do this $50 a month. If you make an agreement for the $50 a month, I would encourage you to make the $50 a month. But you still need to get rid of this because it still shows up as debt. It is still something that you owe somebody, regardless of how little you should have to pay on it. But knock it out and knock out your smallest one and then move to your next one and go there. Now, hopefully, this is not your biggest number. For some folks it is, but this is the most compounding one. Now, we may also have, we can have a mortgage down here. There's a lot of other pieces. Now, your mortgage right now, I think the average is about 7. So you may be 7 to 10%. Now, obviously, this one tends to be, in the like 150,000 range. So this is not going to be your first one to pay off. How are we looking on time? Oh, we're going to blow this joint. Okay, so we're going to manage to get one. I was planning on making this a 3-nighter, but whatever it
You see that
takes.
interest rate?
Huh?
That interest rate you put up to the left, and then you got the numbers to the right.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you add? So let's say I know I got 96 months for, I guess, medical. Can
Okay.
I add that interest plus whatever I owe? Shouldn't it already show up?
All right, let's.
Regardless, you got to pay the interest, right?
Yeah, we're not going to use medical for the example.
Yeah, I would say car.
Okay, so your car note. All right.
Your minimum payment basically, unless you're pretty far along in your payment, your minimum payment basically is pretty much interest only. It's like a little touch of your principal.
Yeah.
So
On
It
most
should show you the overall value. Yeah.
On most any financing, a large portion of it is going to go towards just interest.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of different ways this works, depending on what kind of debt it is. Your mortgage works different from everything else. It's got an amortization schedule where basically it looks kind of like this. So as far as let me think here.
It's not dependent on the market.
Yeah, well, no, this is your amortization schedule. So amortization, I'm gonna try and spell that out so you can actually see what it is. All right, amortization schedule. So you're gonna start off, this is your principal, how much of your payment goes towards principal. This is how much goes towards interest. So your payment is split, and I realize it's not a graph. It's as you start off here, this is your timeline. So the more, as you start off and you look at your interest versus principal, your payment, your principal and interest payment stays the same throughout the mortgage on most of them. But if you look at how much of it goes towards interest, your first payment is going to be like 90% interest. because they want to collect as much of that interest as they can on the front end.
Yeah.
Because that way it compounds, because if all they're collecting here is interest, you're only paying, so if you're, we'll say $1,000. So you're only paying $100 towards that principal of $150,000. And they're collecting 90% interest. Well, by doing that, the principal stays higher longer. And so this is the general principle on it. Now on your other stuff, your car, your student loans, stuff like that, it's just steadily accruing. So you're paying 9% to 20% on your car. Your credit cards is a monthly. They're gonna charge you whatever interest on what you had in there last month. So my credit cards, thanks to Christmas, you know, we had about $200 worth of interest on it last month. And we paid that off this month, thank God. But, you know, that was what that, because that was about 20% interest on the purchases that I had for that month that I did not get paid off in that month. So the same thing with your student loans. You're gonna be paying, we'll say the 5% on that $3,500 each month. Now, each month it's gonna go down, ideally. So let's take this, so we're 3 steps in. So we're looking at our student loan here. All right, so we took this 255 and we're throwing it at this. So we're gonna add this 255 right here. So we're paying $380 a month. So by the first month that we get to throw in stuff at this is gonna be down to $31.40. So boom, that's $380 we're not paying interest on next month. So yes, it does, you are gonna have to pay some on the interest, but so if we take this and put it towards this, most of it's gonna go towards principal, but yeah, the interest on, the thing is like 5% on $3,500, I don't know the exact math, I'm just, let's see, 10% would be 350, so 5% would be 175, thank you. So really, if you're looking at doing this number, you're just barely paying off the interest on this. But by the time you dump this on it, you're kicking that puppy down by large increments, and you're paying less interest on it at the same time. This is good stuff. This is stuff I like. Look, okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. That makes me angry. He said that makes me angry. I'll tell you why, a little bit more on my testimony. I bought my first house at 21. The reason I bought my first house is because I sat down and figured out how much I had paid over the last 9 months in rent. And it about made me sick. Now you're gonna laugh. Keep in mind this was 25 years ago. I was paying $350 a month in rent. It's not a whole lot. At all. Yeah, no, especially, I mean, even back then, that was dirt cheap. It's a little 500 square foot apartment. It was great for the time being, but yeah. Now I looked at, so what's the math on that? 350 times 9. So we're looking at
3,150.
There you go, $3,000. And I went, what do I have to show for that?
Nothing.
I got a pot to piss in, that's about it. So that was when I decided to go and get a house. Now, fortunately / unfortunately, the financial world has changed a bunch since 2000. And it is very difficult for a 21-year-old with no financial history to even come close to getting a mortgage.
Yep.
It was, this is another one of those, God stepped in and went, you're gonna do this. Basically, I had a realtor that had a buddy in the mortgage industry who took my phone, because this was right at the beginning of cell phone. So I had a cell phone bill, I had my power bill, I had think I had a water bill and my rent. Might not have had a water, no, I think water was included. So basically 3 bills, my history over those 9 months. And he built me a credit file in order to get me a mortgage. Now granted, and you know, I throw out a bunch of these numbers and they sound almost incomprehensible now. I paid $45,000 for a $65,000 house. It was a HUD repo. Again, one of those things you're not likely to find nowadays, but I did. And that was my first house. But yeah, it was, I went into a mortgage because I got mad at the fact that I had just thrown away $3,000.
Yeah.
Like, at that point I had 3 cars and none of them cost me that much. Like, not one of them. And I was like, man, I could have bought 2 or 3 cars by now with that money. Anyway, so part of that is putting your money to use. So since we're already talking about it, we'll roll down here a couple of sections to the mortgage section. What? All right. And I mean, the question is for a lot of folks to rent or to own. And I mean, there's benefits to both sides. I think most of us right now are all in a mortgage or we've got our house paid off, you know, wherever you sit with that. And for me and my thought process and the way that I feel like God has blessed us, owning was the only way to go because I want to have something to show for what I put into it. Now there are folks that just don't want to have to deal with the headaches and stuff, let somebody else deal with the headaches and they pay for it. Whatever floats your boat. But one of the keys that I have found in taking care of a mortgage has to do with this jobby right here. So in my experience, and I've done this twice, if you take your principal and interest, just this payment right here, so in your mortgage payment, you're gonna have a P&I and you're gonna have an escrow. If you take and you double this number right here, you will pay it off in a third of the time. Now tell me that math don't work, but the problem is it does because of this right here. So just like we talked about up here, where we take this number was barely paying off the interest, and you add this number to it, where you're dropping that number in big numbers, the same principle relates here. So principal and interest, so where your first payment was $100 going towards principal, $900 going to your interest. Well, if you take and you drop this is just your P&I. So your actual full note would be like $1,200. And I'm just, again, throwing some numbers out there. Might be more than that, might be closer to 13, 14, depending on if you've got title insurance and other bull crap that they like to scrape you for. So if your main number here for your P&I is $1,000 and you can put $2,000, so you take that $1,200 and you just add $800 to it. Now, it looks like a bunch. Whenever you start crunching numbers, you're basically just paying an extra $800, and this thing is gonna go like this. No, sorry, other way. It's gonna go, I'm gonna get it here in a minute. It's gonna go like this. There we go. There we go. Where you will pay it off in a third of the time. My last house, which was my second house, we're on our third house. We did that with a 15-year mortgage, and we were almost steady with it, and we paid it off in under 7 years. And that was on a, trying to think of the numbers on that one. I want to say I bought the house originally for $85,000. We refinanced it and added more into it at the time, and I think that brought it up to about 90 grand. that we paid off in 7.5 years.
See, I thought about doing that, but, if it's not my forever house. so-
Sure, and it doesn't have to be, but the difference being, and this will make you mad. So, if you figure your first payment is only 90% interest, okay? Let's work off of this 150,000. So 150K, if we're running at, what did I say here, 7%. Somebody do the math for me real quick. What's 7% of 150?
$7% of
Of 150,000.
Hey Siri, what is 7% of 150,000?
It's 10,500.
Hey ChatGPT and Siri.
All right, that's what you're paying in your first year in interest on a $150,000 house in your first year. So if you figure by the time you get it all said and done, because of the way they map it out, you're going to pay. It's going to gradually decrease, but it's going to be very gradual. So if you take this number and you figure, okay, so the next year I'm going to pay $10,000 in interest, and the following year I'm going to be at $950. Okay, and the following year I might be at $9.25. Your $150,000 house after 4 years is you're going to have put in almost $40,000 in interest in 4 years. So the reason to pay it off quickly is not just so that you don't have to worry about ever buying another house. It's so that you can get rid of all of this. Because if you do this, your first year is still going to look a little rough. It's going to be a little less. So you're going to be at like 10.3. Your second year, you're going to be at $900. Your third year, you're going to be at closer to like $780. Like that thing is going to quickly drop because this $1,000 a month is going straight to principal. And even if you can't do the complete double, even if you just add, we'll go $300, okay? Where you've got $100 coming off here, now you've got $400 coming. So you see how quickly that escalates just with even some smaller numbers. It makes this thing change direction. Because what you can do, you can go online and look up an amortization calculator. And you punch in your numbers. So you say you've got a $150,000 loan on a 15-year mortgage. And it will show you this right here.
It's a lot more than that now.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there. This is a cheap house. Like this is in the hood. This is across the street from
Okay,
me.
got you.
I ain't kidding. The one across the street from me is about $150,000.
Go.
Yeah, yeah. So if you just take that 400, 300 plus the 100 that you dropped in, and so what I was saying was you can get online, look up an amortization. So if you do that, look at it on a 15-year, and then do the math. So you take that $400. We'll stick with this extra $300. We're making a $1,500 payment, and you take that extra $300 and count how many months forward that is on your payment schedule. You're going to skip like 4 months right there. 3 months, 4 months right there. And then see where that changes amortization schedule. And then every payment thereafter, like honestly, instead of looking more like this, it's actually going to look more like, it's going to be a curve. There we go. It's not even going to be a straight line. It's going to be a curve because it's gradually, the further down you get, the more it's going to just spike straight to the principal. Because the thing is, especially on a mortgage, any money you add directly to, and there's folks that double their payments. Don't just double your payment. Make the payment directly to the principal. Because if you just make a double payment, what they're going to do is they're going to take that and apply it to next month, And so they're gonna split it up into interest and principal. You want it to go directly to your principal, knock that crap out.
How do you make sure that that's what they do with it?
It's in your payment. Are you paying it online, or you were cutting a
Well,
check?
right now, it's just automatically deducted from my account.
Okay,
But if I wanted to make sure that they were putting it to the principal, how do I do that?
And most providers will have individual areas where you could have it go specifically in escrow, you can have it go toward principal, or you can have it go toward interest, so.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something you can check on the
In
their website.
additional categories.
Yeah, it should be something in, when you're making the payment setup. And if you've got it automated, it should be something where you can set that up in your automated payment.
Okay.
How much, where you want that money to go.
Because I mean, right now, I'm not doing anything, it's just the original payment that was set up when we signed the mortgage. But if
Sure.
I want to do this, I wanna make sure I do it right, so.
Yes. And you know, like this principle in and of itself, it works. It doesn't matter how much you're putting towards that principle. Every penny, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're adding $50, if you're adding $100. Anything that you can do to knock this out. And you know, it doesn't have to be even, if you're $25 this month, $80 next month, you know, $150 the following month, it doesn't matter. Now, the math is a little bit harder to follow if you start just jumping around with it, but the principle itself is the same. The more you pay this off, the better off you are. And I mean, the idea is the same as the snowball debt stuff. The more you knock off, the less you have to pay for. So if you knock this here off, you've only got this much that you're paying on. Even if some of the interest up here may be higher, you've still got less that you're paying on in all together.
Does the principal work the same way for other debts?
No.
Or is it, okay.
No, and that, I mean, I say no. Obviously, the more you pay off, the less interest you're paying. That side of it is. But the difference with a mortgage is the amortization schedule. Because mortgages are intentionally, now, back in the 80s, they had to change the law for mortgages because they basically had interest only mortgages, where you never actually paid the house off. You're just paying forever. And the bank, like, unless you intentionally went in and paid extra towards your principal, you just owed them for as long as the mortgage, and then they would eventually start requiring you to make, what's the term? Josh, you remember the bubble payments? What am I?
Balloon?
Balloon.
Balloon payments.
I knew, yeah, balloon payments. They required you to make balloon payments at the end in order to actually start paying off your principal.
Still exists, very scary.
Yeah, it's some bull crap. They will take your money.
So,
Mhm.
so me and Judah, I always thought that we would just stay living in the trailer that he's living in now, which is rented.
Mhm.
It's very cheap, very small. If we wanted to get a house, I don't particularly wanna live in the ghetto. So like, that's
You don't?
a way bigger number. Like, for a 15-year mortgage or whatever, what we're gonna pay every month is gonna be a lot higher.
Mhm.
So it's still smarter to buy than to rent.
Again, every situation is a little different. Now, in that case, you know, it's not until both of your salaries settle, we'll say. You know, having a low payment for housing, you know, in the interim, not a problem. Because you're certainly not going to find a mortgage right now where you're paying what he's paying for rent. The difference being, you know, whenever I got my first house, and I do know the numbers on this, so my first house, my first apartment I was paying $350 a month. My first house I was paying $528 for my mortgage. So it was $200 more, but I had a house that was mine. Now, the difference being, in your case, you know, what you're talking about is, you know, he's paying, I don't know what he's paying, 500?
No,
Not even that?
800.
800, okay. So if you're paying 800 a month right now, Most of your, we got too much up here, I'm not gonna try that. Most of your mortgages right now are, closer to 1,800 a month, easily for what you're talking about. Now, for that little $150,000 house, that's still gonna run, $1,200, $1,400 a month. You can find stuff cheaper than that, but it requires work. It's a matter of what you're looking for.
And the
You
fact
can
of the
find a
matter
trailer
is,
on a lot.
You'd still, even with as expensive as everything is now, it's still probably a better deal to own than to rent, because like, I know what my mortgage is on my house. My mortgage on my house is about $1,100, and we live in a $150,000, ghetto area. But I had a passenger who was in the process of looking for a place, and he and I got to talking. He is currently living in the same apartment complex, the same actual apartment that David and I had when we first got married.
Oh, wow.
That apartment, it was the ghetto, because it was our starter apartment. We paid $425 a month for that place. He's paying within $100 of my mortgage
Mm-hmm.
for that little ghetto one-bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can promise you the apartments, the Applegate apartments outside of the Keesler, I can promise you they're still there, and I am quite sure, it's $1,000 a month.
Yeah. He was paying almost $1,000 a month for the Summerfield apartments on Pops Ferry, which, like I said,
Yeah,
they were rough 25 years ago.
yep, same ballpark. So really, to
We paid $425.
yeah. So to put it directly to you, Casey, like doing something like that right now is fun. And once y'all get your income's stabilized, you're in your career, and you're actually making money with it, then, and he finds, he moves up or whatever, and he's making a little more, one, you'll have more to work with. But yes, two, long term, down the road, in general, investing in a house is usually worth it.
When your parents move into their little camper, you can buy their house.
There you go.
Yeah.
I thought about it.
Hashtag goals.
I thought about it.
They'll give you a real good deal.
I don't know, honestly,
Send them
I don't know
videos
if
on
Gina wants to
campers.
deal with it.
Deal with a house. Hey, look, there's folks that are like that.
Not that we don't wanna,
It is.
it's,
Sure,
we'd have to do a lot to it.
sure.
I don't have a problem with
Yeah. but you know
having
what?
it,
Mhm.
and if we did work on it, and then we would rent it
Sure.
or something.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, those are all decent goals. One of the things that we looked at whenever so our current house, just to further my testimony, our current house is 2,800 square foot, something like that. Custom built home on 3 acres of property. My former home was I'll just give you the full picture. My first house was totally in the ghetto. Like, I literally lived across the street from a drug dealer. I didn't know it until one of my friends was like, "You know why they keep on pulling up in front of his house and honking, right?" And I was like, they're saying, "Hey."
You thought he was popular.
Look, man, I was from the sticks, okay? I didn't have any idea what that was. So that house, the Lord blessed me with. I paid, I think I said earlier, $45. I think it was about $48,000 on a $65,000 house. 2 years later, the city came in and bought it out because it was in a flood buyout area, and they paid me $70,000 for it. So I made money on that house. Like I said, the Lord just kind of dumped it in my lap. So was homeless for about 3 months, living in an apartment at a church I was staying at, or was working at the time. Bought my next house on Deanna. Most of you folks know that house. Was not intending to buy anything bigger. I mean, it was a 3-bedroom, 1,300 square foot house. nice master bedroom, double car garage, you know, this, that, and the other. Then I started the business, working out of it. Long story short, we wound up putting some money into it, paid it off. That was the 7.5 years or so. Paid that off in, trying to get the dates right, give me a sec. I want to say we paid that off in 2014, 2015. Started kind of looking, and more or less God dumped this one in our lap. It was an interesting house. It was an interesting listing because it showed to have 3 acres in the middle of Orange Grove up in Bel Air. And I was like, there's not 3 acres up that road. And then we went to look at it. Took us, you know, probably about 6 months before we actually went to look at the house. We drove up, and it's got a full pull-through garage. And I was like, okay, this is a pretty good sized place. And then we started looking in the windows, and it's got custom oak cabinets all the way through to the kitchen, nice wide open floor plan. I mean, all of you have been in my house. You know, beautiful place. And it had a place that was separate for our classroom for the homeschool. And I went, well, they want $150,000 for this thing. I don't know if I can get that much together. Now granted, keep in mind the time frame. This was 10 years ago. The real estate market has changed drastically in this. But basically, we wound up getting that house for
107?
no, I think we settled on 105. Is where we settled. So 105. So we looked at renting our Deanna house. We actually did rent it to Brian for a while, kind of on a month to month while we were working on it. And but I got all the work done on it, and we decided it's too much hassle for us at the time. Put it on the market, sold it for 101. So basically, we upgraded in a massive way for $4,000. A lot of it's just timing and waiting for God to put something in your lap. And yeah, our floors still have not been replaced. That was one of the first things we set a goal to do whenever we moved in that place, was that we wanted to redo all the torn up laminate flooring. Still haven't done it, but it's ours. It's what God provided for us. So that's one of those things that we should be saving for, but I'm still working on the second phase of my bathroom remodel. Haven't completed that yet. Wife's a little bitter about that, but anyway, moving on. All right. Any other questions, comments, or whatnot on mortgages, debts? We are actually over time. So, yeah, we'll leave. We've got some investing and
God bless you.
savings plans and stuff for next week. We covered the big stuff this week, but I appreciate y'all. Everybody participating. It's good. So take these. If y'all want to do another one, like I said, there's a link on there and whatnot. We'll talk a little bit more next week. And if you've got questions or a situation that you want to look at next week, bring it. We'll talk about it. I don't mind. And if you got any questions about any of this stuff, my phone is always on. I may not always have time to talk, but I've always got time to want to talk.
I just want to throw this verse out. It's
Okay.
Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, rather painful. But later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. It's not fun, but
Right.
it's rewarding in the end.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Definitely not fun.
Hmm?
I said, definitely not fun. I hate looking at this stuff. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Yeah, you should be they enjoy budgeting, or they enjoy.
Okay, well, and I can't even explain what makes me so happy about this stuff. A lot of it is, and I'll be honest, a lot of it is just my testimony of what God has done with
We do them in
money.
the Marine Corps too, and it's like, I just hate sitting down with a person, and I just hate looking at them numbers. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, get out my face, leave me alone.
Well,
Now that's the way I feel about your job.
and I mean, a lot of it is it's just perspective. Like, it's one of those things, when I was 21 and having to look at those numbers, you know, going, I dumped how many $1,000s into this rat hole that, you know, I'll never see another dime of again. And yeah, no, I didn't want to look at it then. But looking back, I see all the things that God has used and, you know, used my efforts for.
Mm.
I mean, when I was 12 years old, my parents borrowed $30 from me to pay bills.
Yeah.
Like that's
That's the reason I personally don't rent, because I guess something similar to that.
Sure.
I just choose not to rent. I'd rather put my money in something that maybe benefits myself and my wife.
yeah. And I mean, it is situational. Like, if you, especially being military, if you move into an area where you can find a rental that you're happy with for $800 a month for the next 3 years, and everything else is going to cost you, you know, $2,000 a month, like it's a judgment call. It all depends. Part of it depends on what's available, honestly.
The only place I did not buy, and I will still never ever buy, is Hawaii.
Oh Lord,
They were in the mills, like for like 2 or 3 bedrooms.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, West Cali's the same way.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law had a townhouse, and I mean, we're talking. I'm pretty sure it was like 800 square foot, $300,000, and this was 20 years ago. And they wound up upside down on it and having to go through all kinds of short sales and bull crap and stuff because they never even finished the development before it just shut down. And so they had empty apartments all through the building. Like, there was no reason for anybody to buy theirs. There was, 100 of them just sitting there empty for nothing. So, but anyway, cool. Well, thank y'all.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.